Okay, so hi, I'm host Eric. Welcome to Talking with Famous People. Kiwi Sauce asked a very interesting question, which is, what is the optimal solution to the two-party system, in my opinion? Well, I mean, okay, it's an interesting question because my dad has successfully convinced me there are lots of reasons to prefer a two-party system over a multi-party system.
What are they?
Well, the most important one is single-issue parties. Single-issue parties are a problem because if you've got a party that's the Green Party and everybody's all caring about environmental issues, then it's difficult to find somebody who is. I mean, the problem is you have these. You segment out the parties into individual issues, and you end up with these sort of coalition-style governments like Israel has and shit like that. I don't like that kind of governance because I think it's both inefficient and involves more compromise, not less. What we want is more obstruction, not more compromise. We want to obstruct the government as much as possible. So, I mean, it's designed to be. That's why it's a deliberative body. The congressional legislative process is supposed to be deliberative, and the Senate's there precisely to obstruct lawmakers from making too many laws. It doesn't work that way, but that's what it's for, you know? So, for me, I'm not necessarily a huge opponent of the two-party system. I'm an opponent of parties in general, I think. We don't need them anymore. There was a time when there was a legitimate need for them, and I think that a party-free election would be vastly preferable. The practical concerns which are often raised about, well, how do you determine which candidate represents a group of people well enough to be considered a legitimate candidate, and which one's just some crazy guy saying I'm running for president. That's not an actual problem, is the thing, number one. We do have to have a certain amount of legitimacy before you put them on the ballot, or else you'll have 40,000 names on the ballot or something, and that'll be hard to vote from.
What legitimacy?
Well, and the thing is, when I say you have to have some legitimacy to get on the ballot, I mean you have to have enough. You have to have a certain amount of support, a certain amount of grassroots support, petitions, signatures, the way they do it now, but without the party mechanism making it more difficult for individuals who might actually have a legitimate claim to sufficient popularity to be a candidate, but don't want to align themselves with the party. And go ahead.
What about the money?
Well, okay. First of all, political parties do donate to candidates. That's true. Political parties do donate to candidates, but most candidates on a political party don't get any money from the party. So it's only a couple candidates who get party money, and the rest of the candidates are supposed to fend for themselves in terms of fundraising.
What about like corporate money?
Well, that's typically given to candidates directly, not the parties. Now, you do have the issue of what's called the what are they called? Those advocacy organizations, super PACs. That's what they're called. Super PACs. You have super PACs which allow corporations to give to what are essentially privately run political parties. So a super PAC is just a privately run political party that says, we're going to, as a super PAC, we're going to support candidates who do this set of issues. A super PAC is what happens when you don't have a multi-party system, because you're still going to have issue-specific camps. You're going to have special interest groups who care a lot about one issue and not at all about anything else, or a couple of issues. Now, because we've spent so much time in this country framing things through this two-party system, these interest groups tend to either oppose Democrats or oppose Republicans, and that's really what they're doing. The ridiculous election laws in this country have made it such that they have to be an issue advocacy group because of the campaign limit, donation limits and stuff. But of course, obviously, that's not the problem, right? The problem is not too much money in politics. Everybody wants to say that. The problem is too much money in politics. The problem is corporations spending too much on candidates, blah, 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 blah. We got Hillary and Trump as our candidates. The problem is not too much money in politics. Nobody wants to give corporate money to either of those two people. If they do, it's because they have an extremely narrow special interest and don't care about anything else. And they're like, oh, Trump's talking about eliminating mining fees on tungsten in Montana. I happen to be a tungsten miner in Montana. Okay, well, I'm going to vote for him. I'm going to donate to his party. I'm going to donate to this super PAC that specifically targets candidates who might be beneficial for miners and land resource exploiters. It's like that kind of a thing. That's how it operates. So the problem is not too much money in politics because, number one, nobody wants to buy a whole candidate. They only want to buy a vote on one law. Nobody wants a whole candidate. The only people who are dumb enough to buy a whole candidate are people who have no possible chance of getting anything back. Namely, your average citizen.
But don't you think with more money, you have the opportunity to just flood the networks and flood the airwaves with your face and sway opinions? Because, like, if people just hear your name and you'll see your face, they're more likely to vote for you. So don't you think that's a bad thing?
Well, I do understand that that's the way political advertising works. I don't have an easy solution to that. I know it's not restrictions on money. I've seen plenty of very rich people try to win elections over the course of my lifetime by coming in and spending a lot. It fails at least as often as it works. And then you just threw a whole shitload of money into the trash. It's a risky proposition. Now, if you're getting donations from all sorts of American citizens, you got a fucking fat bankroll, fat war chest in your political campaign. Well, I mean, obviously you have advantages. But I think the advantages you have, the problem is you have the advantage that's implicit in the way things are set up, which is nobody's forcing you to answer any questions. We need to have as a default setting, if you won't sit down here and be live streamed for 6 hours on a round table with the other candidates, then you're obviously not qualified to even run. Let's have everybody see it. Let's have everybody see you defend your ideas. Let's hear what your ideas are. You make claims and then defend them. Let me hear you do that. They run away from that. They don't want to debate. The last thing in the world. And when they do debate, they don't want to actually debate. They want to avoid saying anything. Well, I mean, what they need more than anything else, what the country needs more than anything else, and it would solve all the other problems. Fucking make the candidates, to be a candidate for an office in this country, you've got to commit at least 60 hours of intensely scrutinized discourse before you can run. Right? Like, you got to say, yeah, okay, I'm going to run. I agree. I'll go to all the debates. I'll do all that kind of shit. That's a fair requirement. It's not reasonable to think that somebody should be able to run for election and win an office without ever actually saying anything or being held to any sort of scrutiny.
But another part of that argument is informed voters, because if people won't tune in to listen to debates and stuff like that, then they won't know who
it doesn't
is
matter.
wrong for them. Right.
It doesn't matter. Here's why it doesn't matter. They don't need to know the realities of the arguments. Like, oh, I didn't watch that boring ass thing. Me neither. But I hear fucking Joe got embarrassed. You see that 15-second clip where he's just getting humiliated by Eric? Makes a big difference, right? Because Joe can't hang. His ideas are stupid. People aren't going to watch 6 hours of me explaining why there are stupid ideas, but they're going to get the gist of it. And if it's a 6 hour long debate, I can tell you at the end of that thing, the wrong candidates will be crying because they will have gotten a full 6 hours of my fucking tongue lashings. So that's my thoughts on two-party system. Get rid of parties entirely. We don't need them. we once did, we don't anymore. Thank you for watching Talking with Famous People. And next up, you'll get to find out what debating style your personality type is most likely to have. How exciting.